I don't know how to tell you this, Rick, but there's a puddle under your chair.
I know, I'm lucky to save the cup, that's all I could do.
Want another cup? We're gonna call this meeting to order for the Highway Committee meeting of September 28th. Roll call.
Gary Mertig
Here.
Rick Corpola
Here.
Michael Berlin
Here.
William Metzinger,
Here.
Martin Vitek.
Here.
All present. Okay, we need a motion to approve the amended agenda which was handed to us.
Also move.
Motion by Bill. Second. Second by Marty. Question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. August 17th, 2020 meeting minutes. We need a motion to approve.
I'll prove it.
Motion by Rick,
I'll second it.
seconded by Bill. Any questions, corrections, or deletions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment via Zoom or in person, none, but via Zoom, any public comment?
We have Bruce Jonas on. He's just, I believe, to listen.
Okay.
Oh, we got a phone call coming in right now. I don't know what that is.
Probably center home.
We didn't have anybody register
Okay.
public comment, so.
Okay. If that changes, we'll make a note. Okay. Number 5. Discussion on highway registration fee wheel tax.
So Clark had asked me a while back to look into the registration fee. As most of you are probably aware, we're having issues on the budget, trying to make it balance. This is one way he asked me to do some research. So in researching it, Ashland County has 13,637 vehicles that would qualify for the fee. The fee is on basically autos and trucks under 8,000 pounds, accepts dual purpose farm. It also accepts antique collector special, ex-prisoner of war, historic, military, hobbyist, Medal of Honor from the past. So if we were to put a $25 fee on the 13,000 registrations, it would bring in around $340,000, $349.25 in new revenue. Then there would be administration fee of 17 cents per vehicle at the DOT charges. So there'd be administration fee of $2,318 basically to do that. I think Clark had wanted to talk to this some also. I know they discussed it at finance last week. Mike were there, I believe. What you guys have questions on it, or
yeah. Matt, why don't I go through the rationale for this, because I think it's important for them to understand, the problems that we're in and basically what the finance committee decided. So if you want me to share my screen, then I can go walk through if you guys are amenable towards that.
Sure.
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it, Clark.
Okay, so can you see this spreadsheet?
yes,
Well,
See it, but I can't read it.
yeah, it's a little small for some of us, but
Okay, all right, then, and that's understandable. I had not anticipated that you guys would be in a bigger room, so I apologize for that. Just a quick overview. We basically balance. This is our overall 20 budget on expenditures and our 21 budget, and then of course we have corresponding revenues. As you know, we've had some significant decreases in revenue. So we've had we're guessing at a couple $100,000 decrease in forest revenue. We also have a decrease of Health and Human Services. There was $115,000 last year that was used to balance the budget from a one-time fund, and that's no longer available for general fund dollars. In addition, sales tax, we're guessing $100,000 decrease in that. And so we're basically looking at, $300,000 to $400,000 in decreased revenue with no real decrease in expenses. So in order to balance the budget, we basically have gone through and we basically went through every department, stripped out all the travel, all the conferences, because I think they're probably going to be, a lot of them might be canceled anyway due to COVID. If they are, they might next fall, maybe there'll be conferences. There may be, we'd have to add back into the budget to put in for not only for employees, but also for county board members, for that kind of thing. So we're going to basically cut.
Did we lose you, Clark? We just lost
250.
your speech.
What?
We're not hearing you, Clark. You're
No.
cutting out.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yep, now you're back.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. In order to balance the budget, because of those significant decreases in revenue, we basically are taking $250,000 out of the bank, which is an unsustainable model. And we also need to decrease $100,000 from outside entities. And so we're basically cutting things like the Office on Aging, Transit, UW Extension, the fair, so we need to cut those things. Since we're cutting every one of our departments, we're cutting every other department also. In addition, we're basically moving items to debt levy. So you probably can't read this, but this top row here is a bunch of vehicles we were making payments on for loans. We're moving that to debt levy. We're basically taking, tasers and squad cars, things that used to be inside of people's budget for general levy, and we're basically moving it to debt levy in order to save debt levy to pay staff salaries and staff health care. Because right now, the options for other revenue is very limited. So we're increasing our debt levy and actually using $184,000 left over from one fund or a couple funds to decrease the debt levy to 1.7 million. The finance committee basically went through a whole series of how else can we generate revenue, because basically the point is we're short on revenue and we have a lot of mandated services that we can't get rid of. So we went through basically things like gas tax. Well, you can't raise a gas tax. You can't raise sales tax. You can't put on franchise fees for like electrical use or phone use or internet use. There is one thing to do. You can do a premier resort area. If you get a bill passed by the legislators and signed by the governor, you can attach a sales tax that would basically applicable for only municipalities or government agencies that have significant tourism within their locales. The city of Bayfield actually has that, but that would take an act of the Republicans and Democrats working together. That's one option. Another option would basically be, and that would be a multi-year issue. That would not happen in 21. That would happen maybe in 22 or 23 if you were lucky. I basically am looking at drafting a bill for, again, long-term solutions to try to remove the court systems, basically, like the district attorney and the courts from the general levy limit law. It's your levy limit to only net new construction, not valuations. And so we're kind of stuck. What the finance committee decided to do, because obviously they don't like taking money out of the bank to balance the budget. That is an unsustainable model that doesn't really do anything at all. So what they would like to do is recommend that we, to the county board on October 6th, is that we adopt a that we adopt a wheel tax that would be renewed every year until we can figure out another way to fund the government. One of the things that they would like to visit is a referendum. So basically looking at basically putting in some sort of referendum in April of 21, so that if it passed, then you could repeal the wheel tax. And then for 2022, you would have a referendum to support government operations. If it didn't pass, then you would have the rest of the year to figure out if you're going to repeal the wheel tax. Basically, your only option really is just cutting staff, because we're not giving any raises, obviously. And I think in order to keep our workforce, we can't go to the workforce and say, you're never going to get a raise ever again if you work for Ashland County. People are going to go away, or at least the good employees are going to go away. And we're not going to have the employees we need to basically keep the operation going. So in the year 2022, not only do we need to revenue loss, we also need to build in a raise for employees, because I just think it's the right thing to do. Given that, they're looking at, the finance committee is amenable, even though the wheel tax is a what we would call the regressive tax, meaning you're not taxing, you know, property owners. You're taxing people that just have a car, and you know, some of those people don't have an extra $25 in the course of a year to pay for it. And you're basically skipping over, such as companies, large companies and retailers within our community. They don't pay anything more for this, even though they also need to contribute to the operations of supporting the government. So they basically are looking at this as a 1-year issue, and then researching and trying to do a better job of trying to pass a referendum to increase the general levy in April of 2021, which would basically support the 22 budget. Overall, when we're presenting the budget, you'll see on the county board, because of the general levy limit law, the general levy actually goes down a little bit, because we're spreading the limit that the government will let us levy over more properties that have been assessed. So if your house got assessed, but it wasn't new construction, we don't tax anymore. So the general levy goes down a little bit. And of course, as we talked about, the debt levy goes up considerably. And overall, it would basically be about a 4% increase to the overall taxes to the citizens. And so before we get to the county board, we've had finance weigh in, and I would like highway to weigh in. This money would be utilized strictly for highways. So the $340,000 has to go to the highway department. Right now, the highway department is funded with, there's $405,000. We're taking out loans from a bank to pay for equipment. We're also taking a loan out of the bank for $620,000 to pay for road construction. And then in addition to that, there's around $500,000 of general levy dollars that are moved into the highway department to fund highway operations. What would happen is a $340,000 dedicated to the highway department would be obviously stick in the highway department. We would decrease the general levy request by $340,000 to the highway department. And then that money would be used to pay for, you know, basically courts and jails and, you know, land conservation and all the other things that need general levy dollars to support them. Otherwise, we have to figure out how many employees we have to cut. We had looked at furloughing employees, you know, basically shutting down the government one day a week, one day a month, basically, or 2 days a month, but it doesn't seem to work very well. We have some departments that, like the highway department, when they're working, they're actually billing and getting money from the state or from a township. And so you decrease revenue. A lot of health and human services are the same way. They basically get paid by the state 67% of what it costs to provide a lot of these mandated services. So when you decrease the expenses by furloughing employees, you also decrease revenue. And so you ended up with this small group of people that basically you can't furlough the sheriff's department, the jail. Those guys don't get to go home for a day. So you have to provide that. You still need to provide public protection. The court systems, we can't furlough by state law. So the court system employees would have to stay. You end up with a small little group of people that you're trying to get hundreds of thousands of dollars from. And it just, there isn't any fair way to do that. There's no equitable way to do that. So even though this is a temporary solution, a temporary wheel tax is better than balancing the budget by taking money out of the bank, because you're basically just borrowing from your grandchildren to pay for today's issues. In addition, one more possible revenue generator was we basically presented, we will be presenting at the county board, do we want to try to expand forestry lands? That would involve basically taking on substantial debt today in order to pay for more revenue in the future for our children and grandchildren. But that would mean this generation paying for the future generations to have an easier time with government. Again, that's more of a multi-year issue. It doesn't solve the budget for 21, but that's something I want the board to consider is, where do we see the government in 10 or 20 years? Do we want to have more reliance on Madison or less reliance on Madison? And if that's the case, we need to basically expand our forest to expand our revenue from there. So that basically is what we're asking. We're asking basically the highway committee to also, like the finance committee, to sign on to basically say, this is a temporary thing. We understand we're in a pickle and we would like to find a different solution, but we don't have a short-term solution besides a wheel tax. I'll take questions.
Bill?
Does $340,925, is that based on a full year? Because this doesn't become effective until February 1st. So that's 1 month less?
Yeah, we would have to, if we adopt this, we would basically have to adjust. And the only thing that would adjust, basically, we'd have to figure out, and there is a chart that shows how many registrations on each month. So we could really delineate down into that individual number and what would happen. So instead of a 340 decrease in levy from highway, we would just decrease it 315,000, and then they'd get $315,000.
Next question. I think this is a fair tax because you're taxing everybody. What are the other, I see there's 12 counties that have this wheel tax. What do they charge extra? You know, Ashland County's proposing $25. What about the other 12 counties? What are they adding on for the wheel tax?
So there's anywhere from $10 to $40. In addition, there's probably, Matt, how many, do you have the chart of the municipalities? There's like maybe twice as many municipalities that do this. And the summary from the Wisconsin Counties Association, they think more and more counties are just going to expand this, just because the levy limit law, there isn't really a solution. The red team and the blue team in Madison really can't get together enough to fix this problem. And so we're continuing to add debt. So your debt levy continually goes up to fund capital items, but you can't take debt levy to pay for, salaries. That doesn't work. And so there are other counties that go from $10 to $40. The state actually, so when you register your vehicle, the state wheel tax is $75. And the state uses that money to pay for, again, same thing. They use it to pay for roads. So when you get projects back, such as Highway 13, and the highway department gets paid to maintain Highway 13, that money comes from the $75 that the state charges for you on the wheel tax.
I can read you a list of counties if you want to.
Yeah, well, here's the concern, and this is gonna come up in the full county board, because already finance has had this discussion. And one member has already objected, and I will tell you this, that I'm gonna have a problem with the wheel tax, because it's another tax on people. I don't care what, no, you've got 12 to 72 counties, that's not a majority, that's not even a, not even a quarter of the counties out there that do not charge it. If we're gonna start taxing people, then we better be able to tell them why, because in this economy, $25 might sound not, like, it might not sound like a lot, but if you have 3 vehicles, now you're talking $75. And there are people I represent that are gonna fill the county boardroom. But this will be before the county. The thing too is, when we talk about a referendum, the finance committee, unless the meeting minutes can show me different, discuss the referendum with Clark's input. There was no vote that I know of by the finance committee to go to a referendum to discuss it. And that's a good idea too, to discuss it. So I don't want anybody to think that these are things that are gonna happen, because the county board's gonna look at every one of these. My question is, what kind of money has the county seen from the federal government for the COVID response? Counties were sent money, just the partials. Price County got 20, 30,000 already on an installment, with more money potentially to follow. Has Ashland County received any federal COVID money that's not in this budget?
Yep. So we basically have received CARES dollars this year, and that money is used to reimburse us for unbudgeted, unanticipated expenses that are directly related to COVID. So even though, so we have up to $250,000 this year that we can look at. It doesn't replace lost timber revenue. It has nothing to do with lost timber revenue or other funds. It's only if we have increased costs related to COVID. And so it's a reimbursement for that. In fact, I'm applying for another $50,000 from the Department of Justice to help with unanticipated, unbudgeted expenses for the jail or for the court systems. And so these are things that don't sustain county governments. They don't sustain salaries and healthcare for regular staff employees. In the federal bill, some of these packages, they are looking at possibly, when you hear Congress in Washington talk about this $1 trillion package or the $3 trillion package, the $3 trillion package basically would involve giving local, towns, cities, and counties and states money for basically lost revenue. Now, I don't know if it would encompass timber revenue, but there might be money there. But again, you basically, we can't budget anticipating that the federal government's going to give us money just to support us because we lost revenue from sales tax and basically timber revenue. I would hate to put I'd hate to put all my baskets in the federal government and think they're going to come and save us. One of the things, I know this is not very popular, but one of the things, if we really can't raise taxes, our choice is basically we need to figure out how many staff we're going to lay off from each department. And that's a bigger, for me, that's a bigger issue to do, to say, are we only going to have government 3 or 4 days a week? We're going to shut down operations. How are we, but we still have to have these state mandates. There are some things we can't not do. The state requires us to do them, and the state requires us to do them in certain timelines. I think to revamp having less people and firing a bunch of people is a bigger, I think that's a bigger commitment than we have time for right now, because we basically just have a couple weeks basically to get the budget done, balanced, and we have to get it publicized by the middle of October, so it's been in the paper long enough for the public hearing on November 10th or 12th or wherever it is.
Okay,
So I don't know how I would figure out how many people to fire from the county to balance the budget at this point.
That's a terrible, no offense, Clark, but talking about firing and stuff is just a way to rile people up. Here's the thing, forestry's probably gonna come in with $150,000 less revenue. They're projecting 600,000 right now. We budgeted 750. They were at 475 last week. Chris said on the finance committee meeting, he thinks they'll come in at 600,000. So that's a little bit. The problem is finance committee asked for 0 increased budget, which you could do, but we're still putting out money to these outside organizations who already received money this year and didn't spend it. I'm sorry, but if we're gonna cut back, we're not cutting back on employees. We ought to cut back on outside requests from organizations who want money from the county, and we simply tell them, look, we're in a bind, we're short, we're not laying off people, we're not firing people at this moment, but we shouldn't be giving money to organizations that are asking money from the county when they didn't spend the money they already had.
Well, I think people did spend the money. So like we give $197,000 to the Office on Aging. I'm sure they spent the money.
Not,
Bart,
not every organization that we gave money to spent money. And I'm sorry, I don't want to pick on this, but I will. The county fair got $20,000, the budgeting 10. I don't see the need for them to give $10,000. They had 20,000 this year, they didn't hold a fair. That's one small piece. If we look at every one of those organizations and tell them, look, at the county's in trouble, our economy's in trouble, the people in this county are not rich. You guys are gonna have to take a cut, so we don't have to lay off people to give them the normal services. We can't
Yep.
lay off people in the highway committee. They earn money for the county. They do state work, they earn money there. They do town work, they earn money there. It'd be foolish to say, well, we're gonna lay off county highway department employees, no offense that I'm the chair, when they're earning money for the county. But there are organizations who come with their hand out that we just have to point blank say, look at, we need to take a better knife to this budget, and that's the first place we cut.
yep. So I basically took about changes this outside agencies about $100,000. One thing, we're moving $23,000 for the Northwest Library Association that uses to distribute books around the northern Wisconsin area. We're taking that out of general levy and putting that into debt levy. Also, the airport, they went from $25,000 to $87,000. We are co-owners of the airport, and we've been underpaying basically what it costs to run the airport. And so over the years, they've been basically taking from funds to balance operations, and now those funds are down to zero. So we have to pay what it costs to run the airport. In that $87,000, there was $46,000 in capital improvements, dealing with runways and lights. And we basically moved that 46,000 to debt levy. Operations were at 41. I basically decreased that to 34, thousand. So we have taken these significantly, down, but I can't imagine, we can't eliminate the Office on Aging, the transit, the UW extension, obviously the fair. Yeah, they didn't have a fair. Tri-County Corridor, Northwest Regional Planning, the library. I mean, all of these are up for discussions. And so there's there is still some significant savings to be had there, but I don't know, I can't imagine we could eliminate extension. That's $170,000. That's a political move. I doubt we could do that. That's a, 200,000, 170 there or so. But I agree with you. I mean, there isn't any good solution. At least I don't have it.
Yeah, thank you, Clark. Thank you.
Yep.
So I suppose it's a committee. It's gonna go before the full county board in a week anyway. So
Is an action item? We recommend this to go to the committee? Or is it
The
just
county
moved?
board.
it's to the county board.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
I just think this is a great idea, the wheel tax. I hate to disagree with you. But for $25, you're not taxing the property owners, you're taxing everybody. A lot of people have vehicles, well, that's what you're paying on. So I think it's a fair tax. If you've got one vehicle, you pay on one. If you don't have any, you're not paying nothing. So I think this is a good way to make some money. And like I say, I got two vehicles. Okay, it's gonna cost me $50 more. That, yeah, but look at what we're saving. We're actually collecting money that we don't have to put on the roll. We don't have to lay anybody off. We don't have to fire anybody. and it's a guaranteed income. You know, so I guess to me, this is a no-brainer. We should definitely go with the wheel tax.
It's
1 year thing.
One year, it's 11 months.
Yeah, that's not true. Everybody in this room knows once you put it on, you're gonna be hard pressed. to
Well,
take it off, 'cause
according
you're gonna want the money, and I respectfully disagree with you, Bill. And we can have that vote, and then the voters can come back and let you know how they feel. There are people in this county who are just getting by, and I represent one of the poorest areas in the town. There are no jobs. The average age is 60 something. This is a tax. And I guarantee you that if they had enough notice, and they probably won't because it'll come up before the county board too quick, that they would fill the courthouse, because taxes are a hot button item in my area right now. There are no jobs. I mean, you look around the butternut area that I represent, and 60 is probably a little low. The young people are all going because they gotta go find work, so. And I'll stand by whatever the county board does, I've always done that, but I'm certainly gonna represent who I represent, so, thank you. So does the committee wanna, just, it's going to the county board regardless of what we do. So we can either have a motion to send it on with our approval or not, or just let it go. It's going there anyway.
Well,
Go ahead, Bill. I'll make a motion that this wheel tax goes to $25 to the county board with the committee's approval.
So Bill makes the motion. Is there a second? Second by Mike. Any other discussion?
I got a question for Matt on this paper here that put out.
Yep.
For me, it's a little bit confusing.
Okay.
On the the third paragraph, it starts out by saying these special plates are exempt from wheel tax. Antique collector special plates are not exempt.
The collector special plates are not. I took that right off of the DOT website. I mean, that's the exact verbiage from their website.
And it's kind of like double top.
So the collector obviously are different from a collector special. I don't know the difference between their plates myself.
So antique and collector are
And
exempt. or not?
antique and collector are exempt. Collector special are not exempt.
Okay. Well, that clears it up a little bit.
So I don't, what's the difference between a collector or a collector special?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, I've seen the collector plates. I don't remember ever seeing a collector special.
Oh,
Marty?
I have a question regarding Bill's motion. Does your motion include a referendum?
No.
And
No.
a 1 year, a 1 year deal, because according to this, it's 1 year. So I'll make it for 1 year. 1 year only, and then it has to go to the highway department again, and then the county board again.
Okay, so Bill made a motion to send this on to the full county board with a highway committee approval for 1 year. And Mike seconded it. Okay. Any other questions? We'll do a roll call.
Gary Murphy,
No.
Rick Corpola,
Yes.
Mike Berlin,
yes,
William Metzinger,
Yes.
Martin Vitek.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, by the way, and I have to go. We have, as you know, we did this bar order closing last week for Health and Human Services. We missed that it had to be noticed in a paper, and so we rescinded it on the same day. And I now have a meeting at 9:45 with the lawyers from WCA and our corp counsel and health services to figure out what does that look like for this week. So you can still go to the bars if you want, and we'll try to figure out and try to give good notice if we're going to do this again. Are there any questions about that bar order, by the way?
Any anybody have a question of the bar closed? Thank you. No, none at this time. Thank you. very
Okay. Yep. Thank you. All right. Bye.
much.
Try not to.
You have to close the bar because you can't drink beer with all these.
Okay. Commissioner reports.
All right, so update on employees. As I told you last month, we are looking for one employee. We filled the shop superintendent with an employee from within, so we advertised. We got 6 to 7 applications. We're in the process of looking them over to see if we want to go further with them or not, and do interviews. So that's where we're at with that. Otherwise, there's no other changes. Any questions on that, on employees?
Who do you have? Who are the people that are going to this?
I guess I don't know the names off the top of my head. I mean, I have some applications, but yeah, I do not have them with me. Work schedule. We're currently working on Highway 77 east of Mellon. They're doing some more rut paving. If you remember, we did some out there this spring. The DOT wanted us to do some more. We had an extra $100,000 fund from them to do this. So we're grinding out a little bit through some of the ruts, and then we'll be paving over them later in the week if it's dry enough. We'll see what the weather does. We're also hauling rocks to Bayfield. Nelson Construction got the contract to place more rock along the lake shore. So he is barging. He took the barge load this morning. He was just texting me. He's ready for more rock there. So we're hauling it to his dock in Bayfield. That's basically our 2 main projects right now.
Where are you getting the rocks from?
We have them. We hauled a lot of rock this winter off of the sides of Highway 13 south of Glidden. I don't know if you've seen that. In the highway right away, there's just rocks and we can't mow it. So the DOT actually paid us to remove them. We hauled them here. So we have some of that here, and then some is coming out of the Poppy pit, Poppy Road here, that quarry up the highway here. So out of both spots. So yeah.
Especially by the highway, I think that's a great idea. Especially if you get paid to do it.
Yeah, the DOT paid us to get rid of them. We took them here, and now
Yeah.
we don't have any costs other than hauling them to Bayfield. So
I'd like to make you money on both ends.
upcoming work, we're going to be kind of going after mostly DOT work in October. Our DOT budget is fairly large yet. We have a lot of money to spend. We're going to be renting a couple brush mowers. We're starting by the golf course here on 13, headed south. We're going to be brushing the right of ways. We'll be getting ready for winter, sweeping intersections, shouldering, that type of stuff. Probably be doing some little ditch cleaning here and there. Whatever, we're hoping to get up on Highway 2 and do a little ditch cleaning in a few spots. So yeah, we are going to be trying to work as much as possible for the DOT to make sure we spend our maintenance dollars that we have budgeted for them. That's all for work schedule. Does anybody have any questions? No.
Highway 13
Yes.
between Mellon and Morris there.
Yeah.
Is anything gonna be done with that this year, or is it next year that they're gonna re-blacktop it? I hope they don't do what they did between Morris and Butternut and damn little rocks,
Yeah. No.
What are they going to do, a decent job, or?
Yeah. So the plan is this year to change all the culverts, let it settle out through the winter, and then next year it will be a paving project. Yes.
It won't be the little rocks.
No.
Okay.
Although, no offense, that wedging did miracles for that section. The rock is a problem, they put it on,
Right.
but
Yeah.
the wedging helped that road for a while.
It had the bad ruts, and I mean, when it rained, it was full of water, you hydroplane all over it. It did help that.
I heard multiple people complain about that. It's an incomplete job. I said, you don't understand. That was not set to be paid.
Yeah.
But the wedging, and I think even Russ County was up helping on that.
Yes, they were.
The wedging did miracles, because you could not drive on that road when it rained.
Yeah,
Like you said, it was cups.
it was, yeah,
That, it needs to be paved too, but
it does.
Well, I was just wondering if they were going to, what the policy was, if they were gonna do that same thing, or, but for a while, it was just, everybody had broken windshields and, you know, that went on there, the little chips.
They're hard on plow blades too. We don't necessarily appreciate them very much, but it is, helps prolong the life of the pavement a little longer. Construction, highway end, that 5 miles from Pine Curve out to the end by Art Schmidt is now paved, shouldered, striped, everything is complete. Looks very well. American Asphalt did a great job as far as I'm concerned. And, I'm very happy with the job. It rides nice. Nice road. So that's basis of our big construction for this year. We are working on projects for next year. Next year, we're gonna have a lot of paving. We have Emerald got that flat grant for GG south of Clam Lake, $1 million. We also have some LRIP funds through the state for the other. The flat grant was for 9 miles. There's another 4 miles. We have other dollars. So there'll be paid in 13 miles on that. I'm working on the close grant that community development block grant money for County Highway N. Working through the grant process on that. You'll see coming up at the board meeting next week. We had to, if you remember from your board meeting last month, we had to make a citizen participation plan, to get it approved. So now I have to have a committee for that. The plan called for 3 committee members. So I did ask Marty. He worked with them grants in the past through his job. Joe Ader, I don't know if anybody knows Joe. He's on the sheriff's department. He's also town of Jacob supervisor. He agreed to be on it. And then a gentleman by the name of Ryan Kim from the Glidden area. We had to have somebody that qualifies as a low to moderate income person. Ryan qualifies for that, and he's kind of involved in the Glidden area, making it look better and improving the Glidden area. So he volunteered to help us also. So Dick and I talked his names over with Dick. He's got to basically appoint them. The county board has to approve the appointments, so that will be on the next week, like that meeting. And then we'll have our first public hearing scheduled for October 14th down in Glidden at the Jacobs Town Hall on this project. So that's where we're at with that. That's all I have. Okay, you have some questions?
Anybody else on that? Okay, then we'll go to item 7.
So we had some requests on ATV routes within the county. I guess the first request, I figured, my thought was we'd take these on a case-by-case basis.
I'm sorry. Okay, we're actually on 6 on the amended agenda. I'm looking at.
On the amended, we're on 6 was the commissioner report, so we're going to 7, yes. You were correct.
Well,
on that.
Okay, we have 2. Still 2 of them.
You look at the packet Amber
I
handed
was
out
looking
today.
at
They're the old one away.
Yeah, so we're on 7.
Yes, okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
So the first request we had was on County Highway C. And Amber, can you pull up that map? I don't know if you want to share that with them. This comes from Jerry Parker. Submitted the application that comes through the Midgets Trail ATV Club of Wisconsin. It's from Highway 13 here, where it comes out north of Mellon. And it comes through the town of Ashland basically, and ends in Minersville, this request. So come through Highbridge here, across the highway, and into that section. If you remember, in our policy, we asked for township to sign off. I do have a letter here from the town of Ashland that they agreed to this route through their town of County Highway C. I don't know, does anybody have any questions on that route? Amber?
Yeah, I have a question too. Is it possible as we do these, that we could approve each one separately?
That's how I had
Okay.
planned to do it, yes.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, so the
So
first
this,
one,
this goes from C right here, across, makes a 90 there, here's Highbridge here, goes down, makes another 90 at Government, comes out to Highway 13 at Minersville there. This section.
Bill,
Do you have any recommendations?
This section, other than the hill coming down to the highway, is a pretty straight. It does have a couple hill features right near Minersville, but the speed limit at that point is 25 miles an hour. I guess I don't have any big concerns about it. We get very little to truck traffic through here. It's just mainly local traffic on these roads.
I got one more question. What is Marty? Marty's the representative from the town of Ashland. What do you think of it?
Oh, that's all right, because the town goes along with it. The fact is, people are already doing it.
right, this will keep getting the ticket. Okay, so if there's no other concerns on County C,
Did Marty had a question?
I have one question. There's a little portion of Highway C by the golf course that's in the town.
Oh, yeah, there is, which they actually did say from Golf Course Road, I think, but I mean, that piece to the highway would be really unnecessary because where are you gonna go? You can't go anywhere at the highway. I mean, it would start at Golf Course. Then they'd be able to access down Golf Course and get into Mellon through that back way rather than, any other way.
Well, with that in mind, I would make a motion to approve that.
okay, we'll get to discussion here again. Motion by Marty, is there a second?
I will second it.
Second by Bill. Other discussion on C at all? Any discussion on the board?
Yeah.
So the motion's been made and second to approve opening up County Highway C to ATVs, UTVs,
The town of Ashland.
provided that the county signed them and the expense of the signage is going to be a burden for the clubs. So the clubs will pay for the signs, the county will install Correct.
And in the town of Ashland.
them in the town of Ashland.
C in the town of Ashland.
One thing I did not mention, all of these routes, I did talk to Bruce Jonas at the Sheriff's Department, and he approved all the routes also.
Okay, so for County C, everybody understand the motion in a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried on C.
All right, we will move to County Highway F. They asked for a route from Elmwood to 3rd Street in downtown Butternut. If you recall, from Elmwood out, we already have a section there. But, if this request was approved, I would like to see it go all the way to the end, make that one whole section. Because we have that other section as being approved yearly or something, so, it would make sense to do it all. Showing Butternut, they go to 3rd Street. Zoom in a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, just for some information, the village of Butternut streets are open, most of them. And so people can get around in the village, but what they want to do is make it official on F in the village, similar to what Mellon is doing in some situations. But, and then when you get out towards the Iron County line, from the Iron County line to Elmwood, which is a town road in the agenda. They, like Matt said, they opened that up a while ago. And I guess, Matt, your suggestion is if we open it from Third Street and Butternut, open it right to the county line,
There's
one
county line.
instead of having two.
Correct.
Okay.
This application did come through the Butternut Trail Midgets. I do have a letter of support from the Trail Midgets and also the Butternut Area Business Alliance sent a letter supporting it, and the Village of Butternut sent a letter of support. Also, the Town of Agenda, which the road goes to, sent a letter of support for this section.
I will make a motion for approval.
Okay,
I'll second it.
second by Rick. Okay, and that motion is to open County N, or
Yeah.
County F, from the Iron County line to Third Street in the Village of Butternut.
Correct.
In
Provided
one-
we don't have any costs.
Correct. And again, the county will sign it. The cost of the signage will go to the trail club. Okay. And officially, I have a question before we go any further. By us making this motion, do we need to include that those routes are technically not open until they're signed?
I don't think so. The policy states that.
Okay. Okay,
Policy
good.
and or the ordinance.
Because
So
people have already read that these towns and villages are approving this, and they
Yeah.
think it's open. I've warned a couple of people, I said,
Yeah.
be careful, they're not really open.
the policy says that it's not open until signed.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay,
Got questions now?
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I'm for it.
That's your district.
Well, it's not only my district, but I'm a half mile from my house to the town road. I'm on the county road, and I haven't for years been able to legally be on the road, except in the winter. When I have a snowplow on, I can legally run the road, but I know, and the town board unanimously approved it, and I see the village is approving it.
Is this for a year's time or all
No.
time?
We were not putting a time limit on these. The highway committee can at any time, according to the policy, revisit these issues. You know, if we're having problems and we want need to revisit it, we can at any time.
Any other questions? So on County F, all those in favor of approving opening it, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. County N.
GG is the next in the packet, so I was just working
Oh.
through here.
Okay.
So this also came from Jerry Parker, the Midgets ATV Trail Club. He's looking for a section from Forest Road 196, Nemacoggin Road to Forest Road 187, Mineral Lake Road. He does not have any letters of support from this township. It would be, what is that?
I'm gonna just interject something here because this has been a continuing issue for me. We are now talking about GG portions. They have 3 suggestions, but between Mellon and Clamley. My estimation still is that's the most dangerous county road we have. It's high-speed traffic from Minneapolis and tourists. There are multiple curves, dangerous curves. I've been on that road for 5 years, every day for 5 years in the summer. From Mineral Lake Road, which is terrible if you're heading towards Mellon and you're gonna turn on Mineral Lake Road, even though the county did a good job of trying to brush that corner, it's a ledge. If you have anything on your vehicle, like a trailer, you're clearing out to make sure nobody's coming around there and turning. That scares me to death. And then if you move off Mineral Lake Road and you go to Spire Lake Road or Nemacoggin Road, you're still on a terrible road. If anybody has driven that road, it is terrible. I'm going to say this, I will live with whatever this board does or committee, but I'm not in favor of opening GG between Clam Lake and Mellon. It's scary. That is the one road in the county that has multiple problems. Bill first.
I'm with you. Yeah, from Highway 13 to Clam Lake, there's only 4 passing zones. I agree with you. That's, to me, that's all corners and it's double yellow. And there's blind spots when the town roads come in. I'm totally against opening that GG up. I would vote against it.
Marty?
And since the town hasn't weighed in on this anyway. Town of Marengo has. Yeah, it's Steve Walston.
Is that all in the town of Marengo, that section?
A lot of it is. Town of Gordon hasn't.
Gordon has not.
Yeah, but Town of Marengo, Steve Walston's got a letter in there from Mineral Lake Road to Clam Lake, I think. He's got a letter in there and they're in favor. I work for the town of Marengo, but I'm still totally against it because it's all corners and double yellows and that's a dangerous road. I agree with that. I would just wanted to make sure that everybody, all the players here are got to have a chance to weigh in.
And my question on this one is, it's similar to opening a road. We could always revisit it if the road, there's no shoulders on. And not that the four-wheelers are supposed to be on the pavement, but there's no place to get over and just drive that road once. But like I say, I guess I will ask, is there a motion? If we don't get a motion, it simply dies for now. But is there a motion?
Well, I'll make a motion to deny it.
To do that.
I will make a motion to deny opening GG,
Right, between Clam Lake and
no, opening GG, period.
well, okay. Well, then, but
We have another request. for
it's another
GG.
request. So
What?
let's
We
go
have
with
another
this one.
request for
Let's go
GG
from
too.
Mellon to Clam Lake first, because
Okay.
Well,
so there's a motion and a second on the floor to deny opening GG, Highway GG, to ATV UTV from Mellon to Clam Lake. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried is denied. Okay. And then, do you want to do GG South next? Or,
I don't have an application for GG South.
okay, there was a discussion from Bruce.
Yeah, but there was a discussion from Bruce.
Okay, so
Um,
let me ask you, if there's no request, then we won't discuss it.
that's basically how our policy is written. There needs to be a request from the trail club or the town. Bruce sent an email, I didn't include it in here, requesting South GG and some of these others, which, according to the policy, we need to see a request from the town or a club. Okay, so I did not include it in the packet at this time.
Okay, then we'll go beyond that.
The guy told me way back when, that when they built GG, they just went out in the woods and cut the stumps kind of low and GG occurred.
Yeah. Okay, so we've taken care of.
Did we vote on that?
We did. We voted to deny.
So, and in the packet, N is the next section.
Before we move on, I was gonna make sure that I had Bill made the motion, right?
Yep.
And then he seconded it?
Rick? And it's, yeah, to deny.
I'm sorry, I forgot to write down the second.
That's okay. Okay, go ahead, Matt.
So if we move into county N, I have an application here from the Butternut Trail Midgets. Junction of county N and Mackenberg, or Mill Road, they're across from each other, out to the end to end, which is the Art Smith Road, basically. I talked to Bruce Jonas, he is in favor of this. This section starts at Mackenberg. The town of Jacobs has already opened from Mackenberg in through the Glidden. I guess it's not a village or anything, it's just town of Jacobs, but if it's under 35 or under, the towns can open up state highways or county highways, so they already have that section open. So we'll let them take that, and we would go from Mackenberg to the end. I guess that's the next application.
Okay,
So you're going from Mackenberg
Road to Mackenberger Mill, all the way to the end. Mackenberg is just out of town there, right? Well, it comes back out, it's right next to it. It's right there.
Are you going from Mackenberg to Iron County?
No, to August or Art Schmidt Road is where ends. And then it's town road from that point on, which is already open.
Okay, so right here, just short of Augustine Lane.
Yes, right,
Okay.
right to that 90 corner at Augustine Lane.
So you're not going from Mackenberg south?
I think you're, maybe looking at the wrong Mackenberg. So Mackenberg comes back out here. But you need to look at,
Okay.
page 16 here.
From within. the
Um,
town.
Oh, yeah, Mackenberg. So that's why it says Mackenberg and Mill Road. Mackenberg comes out here, Mill Road is here, all this intersection.
So where are we vacating from, or where are we opening it to?
From here out to the east end.
To the Iron County line?
No, because
Augustine Lane.
ends and it turns into gravel at that point out to Iron County line. It's a town road.
Bill, is it too small for you to see up here? I don't know if you can see it, but
No, I
I
can't
don't
see.
need to see my pointer, but that's where.
I can't see.
Oh, so it basically starts here. and then goes up to here.
So
Huh?
Augustine.
Yeah. So then Iron County is farther east, but that's a gravel road.
So you're,
got him, landed over there.
so you're going from just about Augustine Lake to right there.
Basically right into Glidden.
And then-
So you're not doing the entire end?
Well, it is.
It is open because the town has it open inside of Glidden already because it's under a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Okay, but from Augustine Lake, it's still end to the county line, isn't it?
No,
No,
nope.
no, it's the gravel driveway line, the town line.
So ends right here,
Okay,
and this is the Augustine Road goes out to the Iron County.
okay.
Yeah.
So the motion should be
See my application.
approve opening county end.
They love it.
Should we just
Not
state
that one.
that we're gonna open county end inclusive?
What's that now?
Should the motion say we approve or not? Opening county end,
From Mackenberg Road to
okay, you wanna state Mackenberg
to
Road?
the east.
Okay,
Termini if you want.
okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve opening county end from Mackenberg Road to the end,
The east end of
east end of county end.
Mackenberg or / Mill Road, so,
Okay,
Mill Road is just, Mackenberg's confusing because it hits it twice.
right.
Mackenberg Mill Road intersection.
Yes.
Okay, so there is a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Rick, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
So it's Gary and Rick. right?
All right, the next application we have is for County Highway C again. This application comes from the town of Marengo. They are asking from Highway 13 in Minersville over to County Highway. So this comes from the town of Marengo with a letter of support from them. One thing to note is a small section of that, the last half or 3/4 mile would be in the town of White River, which We have not at this time received a letter of support from them. You know, whether, I haven't heard from them in either way if they support it or not. You know, it did not come with the application, so I mean, that's, we received that application late as we were putting this packet together, and I didn't have time to do any further research on it.
So from 13,
13 by near Minersville,
okay,
ending. We had the other application from the town of Ashland, or from Jerry Parker to go to Minersville. Now this is the rest of C,
okay.
and
That's
all the way to County Highway.
It's pretty straight. There's a couple little hills, but it's pretty straight.
Yeah. Does have a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit most of the way, or all of the way, I should say. One question I would have, if we were to approve this request does not come through a club. So how you would want to address the signing issue?
I wonder. We're not paying for it. Okay. I wonder if we table this one until we find out if there's a club willing to pay for it. Now, the problem we'll have is because we've opened C everywhere but this, are we gonna have potential problems for a while with people misunderstanding that it didn't include this section?
But it's going to go into the town of White River, and they haven't even applied or
Right.
anything, so I would say until the town of White River does something, because it's going to dead end right here, and then it's White River. And then what's going to happen? You know, they'll think White River, we can,
So we would like a request from Town River one way or the other, whether they
County White River.
and then we would want the two towns to speak. If there's a club willing to work with them to sign it.
Okay,
So we'll table it until we get a further request.
I'll make a motion to table it till we get a further request and to find out how payment is gonna be made.
I'll second that.
Okay, go ahead, Matt.
do you want me to ask the towns if they would pay for the signs?
Go ahead.
I mean,
But
the town is really pushing, Steve Walston is pushing to
To
open
be
this.
honest, other than your cost of installation and purchase, you're not gonna be signing 20 signs on a road anyways. It's
No, it's
entrance and
each end kind of. This one would have, you got the intersection there of Vista and Wildcat, so we have a couple extra. But when we're doing these whole routes, it's a ATV route sign at the beginning. And if it ends, like if it comes up to a highway, we have to put ATV route with an end sign below it. If it's just going into the town and the town is open, we do not need any, just to sign it as they come in.
okay. So if the towns ask that question,
Yeah,
I would say we should also put in there, we need some input from the town of White River, because there's about a half a mile in White River.
sure.
And if they don't agree to it, it's not going to come out. You know, you're not just gonna stop.
do we know, is E open?
He is not open either, and we haven't
So
had
they
any
would dead
formal request from them.
They would technically dead end.
Yes,
C.
that's E and E, yes.
But they could get into Sandra.
Well, E is closed at this time.
Okay,
You know, we have not had a request on that section.
So the motion has been made and seconded to table pending further information from the towns on whether or not all the towns support opening it and who will pay the cost. If the towns say they will, that's fine. It'll come back to us anyway.
We can't really act on it until we have complete application.
Right. Okay.
All right,
So motion's been made and seconded to table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
the final request is GG. This comes from the town of Marengo also. And that would be from 13 in Mellon all the way to County Highway M. That comes from the town of Marengo with support. That also goes through Gordon, which we do not have a letter of support for that in that town. That would be all of GG North, as we call it. We split GG for our here, we call GG North from Mellon to Clam Lake, and south from Clam Lake down Port Loretta to the end of the county line.
And they're technically asking from where?
They're asking for all of GT.
All of GT?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, I mean, from, not all, but from Mellon to Clam Lake.
Oh, okay, which we really already addressed.
Yeah, but that was a
So
separate request, so.
Okay, so this request, should we deny? We already denied it.
You denied a section of, in that here,
Right.
but that was from a different applicant.
I'll make a motion that we table it until we get input from the town of Gordon. And see who's going to pay for the signs, because right now there's no club, right?
There's no club.
Right, but they're talking about,
Right.
we
Gotta say
really
no.
shouldn't tell them we want you to tell us who's gonna pay for it if we're ultimately gonna deny it again. Yeah, because we already denied it.
I'll withdraw my motion.
She and I have big shoulders. I'll make a motion to deny the request to open GT from Mellon to Clam Lake.
I'll second it.
Second from Rick. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Opposed, motion carried.
So that is all the requests we've had at this time.
Thank you very much. Item 8, discussion and action on right-of-way transfer request of State Highway 13 in the town of Ashland.
So this, I received a letter back in August from the DOT requesting a title transfer to a piece of property that Ashland County owns of right of way. And it's just south of here a little ways. I don't know, do you call that the 5-star or 3-star? Right across from Mayfield Electric, almost that old tavern. So this property was just purchased by a new person. They're doing some remodeling. The right of way actually goes into their house just a little ways, I believe. So they're asking the DOT to purchase a piece of right of way so that they own all of their house, I guess. The DOT is willing to sell some, but come to find out, Ashland County still holds the deed on this. So it looks like back in 38,
I'll charge them $340,000.
Yeah, good call, Rick.
back in 38, the highway department, the highway committee, I believe, purchased this piece of right of way with state dollars. So state dollars were used, they just used the highway committee as a purchasing agent. And according to this letter, the state, it's statute 84.093B, and there is a copy of the statute in your packet if you look. 3B says any property of whatever nature acquired in the name of the county pursuant to this section or any predecessor shall be conveyed to the state without charge by the county highway committee and county clerk in the name of the county when so ordered by the department. So by state statute, we really don't have any choice, I don't believe, to give this property back to the state. It was purchased with state dollars.
Way back in the day that Herman Zimmerman built that building. Around World War II. And he built a building on his land, but he put the steps on the right of way, and that's always been a problem with that building. It'd be a good idea to get that cleaned up after 100 years or so.
So potentially the sheds they're selling are in the state right away.
They are, they've been asked to move them. They did for a short time and they moved back out.
Yeah.
I don't think the state is, I mean, there's 100 feet of right of way right now there. I think they're thinking of selling them like a 20 to 30 foot strip. So there'll still be a fair amount of right of way. The state will still have
How
most
much
of the right of way.
how much are they getting?
What's that?
How much are they getting, the state?
They wouldn't tell me for sure, but she thought around $1,000.
I would move we approve that.
So it says in the statute that the clerk, by the highway committee and the county clerk. So you think your motion should state that the county clerk would sign off on, on the deed, or, I mean, who should sign off on it, I guess?
That would be the logical one.
Okay.
Does this have to go to the county board?
Will.
I do not know that. I mean, it specifies in the statute the charge by the county highway committee and county clerk. So
Quick, maybe you run that past Clark.
I could.
Say that'd be your best bet.
Yeah, so you want to push the
In the,
top?
in the statute, it says, without charge by the county highway committee and county clerk in the name of the county when so ordered by the department. So if we approve to do it, the county clerk will still have to, I'm assuming she's gonna go to Clark or our
Yeah, I
legal.
mean, maybe
and say,
maybe
hey,
she would have to go to the board then to
Right.
sign off. I mean, you guys could sign off on your portion of it, and then I could give it to Heather to look at her portion, I
I
guess.
think that she's gonna probably bring it before someone at least to let us know what she's doing.
Sure.
I'll make a motion, we give it to the state of Wisconsin, Department of that department. Provided Clark gets to look at it. If he approves it. If it has to go to the county board, that's what I'm trying to say. You know, we'll give our blessings that it would go to the county board if need be. If not, we'll just approve it.
There's a second?
What's that?
We have a follow.
I'll second it.
We've had a couple on the L.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay,
I can pass and let you do it, Marty. Because you're from that town. Go ahead. I withdraw my motion. You're from the town.
is Marty, you making the motion?
Yeah, I did. Long time ago.
Okay, well, we didn't get a second. Rick, do you wanna,
I second it.
Rick second, so now just so we have it correct. Do you know what Marty's motion is? Same,
Mary's motion. But then you want it to be, approved or run by.
If you want to amend, you just said to do it. You want to
Whatever
amend it
legal
to
processes we need
to go through. All right.
okay, so there's a motion and second to approve by the highway committee to give this line back to the state, provided that the county clerk and the county administrator agree on what procedure to use. If they can do it, that's fine. If it needs to come to the county board with the committee's blessing. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Emergency circumstances policy.
So I've been thinking about with COVID pandemic going on, what options I have for snow plowing if we were to get, the virus in our department. So, and talking to other commissioners, and we were kind of brainstorming ideas of what we're going to do. One of the thoughts that came out was to use the forestry department. So we are in the process. Clark approved somebody asked about the COVID funds earlier, what we can use them for. The forestry department is getting CDL licenses, and they will be paid for through some of this COVID money. They're going to take their written test, and then we will train them. The driving portion of the CDL license, our department will train them and also show them our plow routes at the same time. So there would be 3 to 4 employees coming out of forestry that would be able to help us plow if needed, if our crew goes down with a bunch of guys out. My other thought was, and other counties have done this also, allow employees to take a plow truck home. So this would allow them they could go home, say they're quarantined, maybe they have COVID, maybe they don't. But if they had COVID and they were asymptomatic, didn't have any symptoms, were perfectly healthy, could plow snow, but they can't come here. So they'd be able to take a plow truck home, park it in their yard, and go plow snow. They'd have to come here for materials. We would have somebody that's working, load them. Or if there was nobody to load them, we would provide wipes that they wipe the loader going in and wipe the loader coming out. And this way they could still take care of the roads for us and minimize any exposure to the people that are still able to work.
Here's the question, man. Do all of our county highway department employees live in the county?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, because we wouldn't want trucks going out of the county.
Yeah,
If need, then the other question is, say you have an employee, what I'm trying to get at is location, because if they're working out of this shop and their truck is normally here, but they're sick or they're, you
yes.
know, out, where would they be plowing? You wouldn't want them to take the truck to Butternut if they're plowing up here.
So generally, they live close to their locations. So we have 3 guys that plow out of Glidden. They all live, 2 of them live right in Glidden, 1 of them lives a mile out of town. We have 3 that plow out of Ashland. 2 of them live in Ashland. The third one, we're not sure who it's going to be, if it's going to be our new employee or somebody else yet. The 4 that plow out of here all live within a short distance of here, of Hybrid. So yeah, I don't see that as an issue. They're close to where they're supposed to be plowing.
I'm assuming this would be a short-term thing and it's something that would happen rarely.
I hope it never happens. I probably have the authority to do this on my own. I'm looking for your blessing. You know, there's a truck at somebody's house. Why? You know, well, this is why. You know, I did bring it to the committee. They know this could happen if needed. I just want you guys to be on board with it if I need to do it. I'm hoping we don't need to do it.
That issue, this is a quick point of information. That issue will come up because currently there's a town truck sitting somewhere outside the township. And even though I'm not on the town board anymore, I've had 2 calls about what that town truck's doing.
Sure.
It's getting fixed.
Yeah.
But like you say, that
Yes.
question will come up is,
Yeah.
why is Marty got to plow it in house? You know?
Yeah.
So.
And I put it right in here that they would take truck home where, how did I say that? Yeah. So, I have a policy.
Yeah, and you're stating. that
Yeah.
Emergency anyway.
Yeah.
Contingency.
Number 1 is when necessary, allow snowplow operators to take trucks or equipment home to their private residences. The equipment may not be used at the private residence other than to ensure entrance or egress of said equipment. So, you know, if they're plowing their way in, plowing their way out, but it's not to be used for any other purpose around at their home or property.
I got a question. It says on this letter from you, it says, as a last resort, I would like to have the option of hiring temporary persons to plow snow.
Yes,
All these people should have a CDL.
yes. So,
I would put that in there or something so that,
Qualified person.
well, a CDL license,
yes,
that's what.
I would not hire anybody without a.
Well,
I mean,
it
it's a
doesn't
law.
say that,
Yeah,
you know, that's
Okay.
kind of what I'm,
sure. I mean, we can add that language. That was my next point was, you know, when necessary, hire other persons as needed on a temporary basis as snowplow operators. I do not want to do this. I mean,
You definitely don't.
you know, I mean, we're putting people in there that are untrained. You know, maybe they have a CDL license. They don't know the road. They don't know the machine. They don't know anything. But if I don't have any other options, what am I going to do, you know? And no doubt it would have to be someone qualified with the CDL. I don't know.
Okay, so basically we need a motion to approve the
Policy.
department policy regarding emergency circumstances and so on. Is there a motion?
Also move.
Martin made the motion, second? Second by Rick. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Man list, person list.
Man lift purchase. So we currently have it's not in here, I think it's through that door, a scissor lift type of lift that we use for building maintenance and washing equipment, working around equipment. The batteries are posted there, they're shot when we do batteries, and it has some other issues with it that needs some work done. The shop figured $2,000 to fix it. It's not worth that much anymore. It's getting pretty rusty. It's getting wore out. I don't know if it'd be the hydraulic pump is getting so weak. If there's two people in there, they basically kind of got to pop up, take their weight off it to get it to go up in the air. It's
I could do that.
it's just wore out. It's time to get replaced. We're proposing to purchase a different style. It's a little bit. It goes up and it will actually lift up to about 40 feet. That way we could get up to our roof from the side. It's got a little bit more all-terrain wheels. It can get around a little bit better. I think it's 4-wheel drive. It would allow us to just work in a lot of buildings, but still be able to get up in here to work on the lights or wherever we need to do. In our equipment budget or line item, we sold a lowboy trailer and what other piece? We sold another piece of equipment, sander, for about $20,000 between the two of them. We really did good on that lowboy trailer, way better than we expected. So we have a little bit extra in there, and then also fuel this year has been quite a bit cheaper. To date, we're running about $18,000 less in fuel cost. So that puts us up in that 35 plus range. In that fund that was not not really budgeted for. So I'm asking permission to use that fund to purchase a good used machine. So we haven't decided exactly which one, but we've been looking at them. You can get them 1,000 hour or less machine for that $30,000 to $40,000 range.
When do you use the machine almost, or what, do you use it all year round, or?
We do. I mean, we use it a lot, probably more so in the summertime, when there's not snow. But we still in the winter could change light bulbs, to work on any or heating systems or any piping systems, anything up high. But then in the summer we do, building maintenance. We're up if we're getting up on the roofs, or in the rafters. We use it a fair amount. We also, when we wash our equipment out here, we use it to raise up to wash inside of the boxes of the truck. And one thing with this new style of machine, it would allow the machine to be parked back further. You could boom up to it so it wouldn't get so much overspray and, hopefully keep some of that salt off of it.
I got another question. If we get $300 and some thousand on that wheel tax,
Yes.
something like that would qualify, purchasing it?
Probably not, because that's not a transportation related item. More so, it's more of a building maintenance item. That money has to go for transportation related items, which most of our budget is spent. A lot of it is spent fixing the roads and maintenance, pothole patching and plowing snow, and all that is transportation related expenses.
Okay, is there
A movie buys it.
Okay, motion by Rick to purchase a machine. Second by Marty. Just do your best negotiating and
Yeah.
whatever one you decide, try to get them this. It
Sure.
benefits you too, so.
That second machine is, the second picture there is much better.
That's not the one we're buying, but that's pretty much the machine we want to buy. That,
Okay. Any
Yeah.
other discussion?
also, I would like to add, this machine would be helpful for other departments to, they probably have to rent it to us for a fee, but courthouse, they could use it for washing the windows on the outside. I don't think they could get right to the roof, but they could get, 40 feet up on the building. Sheriff's Department has a higher building. Any of these other departments that would want to use it around their buildings on the outside, it would be very beneficial for them.
As long as you can rent it out.
That we would have to, we would have to charge them a rental fee to do that.
Okay, motion been made and second to approve purchasing of a lift. All those in favor say aye. All
Aye.
opposed, motion carried. Next meeting date. Are
So we kind of talked, Gary, being that we're pretty much at the end of September, that maybe we should skip the October meeting and go to a November date.
Would it be the 9th?
That would be right, yes, November 9th.
Does the 9th work for everybody? November 9th?
On the 10th, we have the county board meeting.
Right, public hearing. November 9th at 9 AM. Any items for the next agenda? It's in November, so if anybody has something to bring it through, and does anybody else have anything they want to bring up? Snow plowing is going well so far this year.
Very well.
Oh, it'll come though.
I know, I want to go camping this weekend, but I looked at the forecast, I'm not so sure I'm up for it.
Little chilly.
Yeah,
For the next meeting, are you going to contact the town of White River or the town of Marengo and tell
I
them,
will talk to the town of Marengo.
tell them about the town of White River and
Yeah. These applications come and I tell them that they need to, I don't know that it's my job to call White River, it's whoever the applicant is needs to have their ducks in a row, I guess you could say.
I would say you should call them.
I can talk to them.
you
Yeah,
can call Marengo and tell Marengo, hey, we didn't get nothing from White River.
sure.
We
And
still
then-
don't have
and
a
then
club
it-
sponsoring. it, right?
and
Yeah.
no sponsorship.
See if we can get a club to sponsor, if not, if the town is willing to purchase signs and installation.
And just so we have some semblance, because I know the questions will come. With us approving these three, a sense of telling the public when they could officially, I mean, not locking us in, but are we talking weeks, months?
It's gonna be a couple weeks. I did pre-order signs. I expected we would be opening some, so I did pre-order some signs. They had told, that was last week. They told me 2 to 3 weeks on the signs. So when they come, we'll get them installed, but that's,
I just want to tell the public,
Yeah.
I've been actually stopping folks that I see, I wave them down or something and say, just warning you, this is not open yet, but
Yeah.
no matter what you heard.
Yeah.
I don't want you to get a ticket.
sure.
So, and most of them have been pretty good. about
Yeah.
it.
I would hope about two weeks from now. I asked them to expedite it if possible, so. I know hunting season's coming, people are gonna be getting.
So this won't be effective until it's posted?
Sign is
Okay,
posted.
that's what you gotta tell them.
Right, yeah. Just relax, it's coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, we need a motion to adjourn. By Mike, second,
I'll second it.
second by Rick. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Most important one. Most important.